Live, then you can start using it.
Oh, good.
Okay, we're live. We're here. Welcome to the Dante Greco Show. Special guest today, Senor Smalls, ex-coworker with me at TMZ, and now founder of the wildly successful Pap Safari walking tours, and also what's your other thing? Receipt reporter. You're the receipt reporter. He does live interviews and live news.
What don't I do? That's really the question.
You do it all. You do it all. All right, I'm going to make you sit through the intro that I normally play on my show, and then you can critique it.
Okay.
1 second here. Let's get this lined up, and here we go.
Dante Greco.
Dante is a really smart guy.
Ladies love Dante. Look at that head of hair. Look at that face.
What's your name, Casey?
Dante Greco.
Is me, yours truly.
Dante, I'm gonna come.
What did you think about that, Smalls?
I liked it. Needs more OJ, less Harvey.
Less Harvey? Well,
yeah.
Listen, I got to give myself credibility here.
Okay. But I liked the Jeannie Pirro, Judge Jeannie, or wherever she knows you. That's cool.
Yeah. She doesn't actually know me. The guy she's interviewing there, the bigger bald guy, is an actor on The Sopranos, and he played a character named Dante Greco. So
who was also a driver who you had. You also shared that with him.
Yes.
Like, maybe someday you could be driving a Tony Soprano around.
That's right.
In acting or in real life,
Smalls, I had you on once before, and we talked about your experiences as a TMZ camera guy and as a founder of Pap Safari. But this time, I really want to delve further into your past as a clock and weather vane salesman. I think there's a lot of interesting stuff there.
Well, Oregon Scientific, it was it was on like one of the S&P trading, but it just felt like a huge front for probably human trafficking.
Yeah.
Because, they had a shop at the Century City Mall where even 15 years ago, the rent was something like $15,000 a month or something more insane like that. And I saw our sales. We weren't making that much money. And it was it was like a Sharper Image ripoff. I still have several projection clocks though.
Fascinating. Oh shoot, I'm being rude. I didn't put your name tag up. There you go.
Creator of White. I didn't create that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm sure I didn't. Do you want to talk about Kanye?
I do want to talk about Kanye. Kanye's been beefing with every single person in the media, and I love it. As much as I'm driven crazy by Kanye, and I'm driven crazy by people who are just like, what is he, like borderline personality disorder?
Yeah,
I don't like it.
But I like his trolling. His trolling is it's top level.
Yeah. No, so he went on Tucker Carlson yesterday, and this just kind of caps off a week of him trolling everybody in the media. Obviously, it started earlier in the week with the whole White Lives Matter sweatshirt, and now he's on there talking about how they threatened his life for wearing a Trump hat. He's claiming that Justin Bieber's girlfriend had a nose job, Hailey Bieber. He's calling Gigi Hadid a zombie. And, we take that personally because we know Muhammad Hadid from all our days in Beverly Hills.
I actually saw Muhammad Hadid on the last tour I did. And that was like the highlight. We saw Muhammad Hadid and John Lovitz.
Yeah.
And the tour didn't know who John Lovitz was, but they had heard of Muhammad Hadid. And
people paid for this tour.
Yeah, these people actually paid a discount because I'm on this thing called the sightseeing tour, but they never pay me. So every now and then people will email me like, hey, I'm on the site. I have the sightseeing pass. Can I go out this day? And I have to tell them no, because the sightseeing pass doesn't pay me, but you can if you want to reach out. But these guys haggled with me, and I think they got a good tour. They got a discount. But for that discount, they still got to see Muhammad Hadid. They still got to see John Lovitz eating what looked like a lovely sandwich.
That's huge. Yeah, he calls Gigi Hadid a Karen born with a silver spoon in her mouth and a zombie because she got upset that he criticized Gabriella Carifa Johnson, who called his White Lives Matter clothing violence. He's right. You know, the thing with Kanye this week that I've learned is he's right about a lot of stuff. I'm not going to say he's right about White Lives Matter because that would just create problems for me. But she was born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Like, this is the thing that's interesting to me, and I want to find out what you think. Gigi Hadid, Hailey Bieber, these are people who never comment publicly on anything at all. And then the one time they have something interesting to say, it's about Kanye, and then he just goes right back at him and calls him out. Like, what's your take?
Well, my take is, I think he knew what he was doing with this campaign because it got everybody talking about him. And the man's like an ego, he's driven by ego, and this has just gotten everybody talking. Now, I do believe that he is right to retaliate back at at the Hadids and the Baldwin Biebers, Kardashians, and this is something. That's I'm jumping off to a different point, but it's just like it is, but it gets tiresome. Like I'm sure it's like I get it. It's like it's controversy. It sells. It's like keeps them in this in this trash tabloid media sensation. But are we didn't you feel like when you were still at TMZ, didn't you feel like you were exploiting like his mental illness by getting a paycheck from the company that was putting him on display when he was obviously was just off like a 5150 hold. He needed compassion. He needed a little space, and instead you guys paraded him on TMZ Live like a circus show. And then and yeah, it was, and I'm glad that Van got to show that he was blacker than Charles by standing up for this the slavery was a choice meaning. But in all honesty, he never should have been there in the first place. You guys were exploiting a mentally ill person.
First of all, weren't you working there at that time?
I was not. I was already let go.
Oh, well, I blame Candace Owens because you forget she brought him in there. See, Candace Owens was smart, and along with whoever her conservative backers are, they identified Kanye as a guy that they could use. Sort of like how they've been looking at Trump since the 80s as a possible candidate. They're doing the same with Kanye. So they brought him in there. They're exploiting him, and I don't feel bad about Kanye. Yes, he had a troublesome time, 6 or 7 years ago or whatever, but it's been long enough. He's done enough. He's created companies. He puts out albums. At the risk of sounding like callous, I'm not convinced that his mental illness is debilitating. There's some people with a mental illness where it's a real problem for them and they can't exist in society. He seems to be doing just fine and he's having a great time. So no, I don't feel bad for him at all. He knows what he's doing. He's crazy. He's not mentally ill. He's just crazy. He's wild.
Yeah, and like many people that have that kind of bipolar and a borderline personality disorder, he is driven by ego and by being talked about and just being in the
Yeah. Is narcissism a mental illness that we have to respect and coddle? I don't think so.
I don't think it is.
I think though he is entertaining and he has all the qualities of a next Trump. Trump, one way or another, is going to age out of this. And the media, as we know, with COVID and then with every other thing they're trying to get started, they're looking for their next Trump, someone who's going to be a lightning rod. I really think, and this is bad for America, I don't want this to happen, but if I was going to advise the media, they should elevate Kanye and take him seriously, elevate him to Trump-like levels. Cover everything he does, more interviews on Fox News, Newsmax, everything, and start taking him seriously. I mean, he's already a former presidential candidate, and who's to say he's not going to run again in 24? That could be the answer to the media's ratings and advertising dollar deficit that they've been experiencing ever since Trump left office. Your thoughts?
Well, if anybody from Newsmax is watching this, I have been applying on LinkedIn because like like the news market. I'm trying to get back in the news. It's saturated. It's very hard to get a job, but I feel like they're just it's such an ugly company that it's going to turn like a lot of people off from applying. But I worked at TMZ for like over 5 years. I can work at Newsmax. My conscience is gone.
Yeah.
I think Newsmax is pretty much just like the same as Fox News. Maybe it's like it's a little worse, but it's probably like a better environment to work there because it's like less bosses, less like it's about I mean like the stuff they spew is more toxic, but I feel like the workplace is a little less toxic. So if anybody that is a gatekeeper can get me in the door, I'm ready to go. I'm your worker bee.
They pay well. I remember when I was looking at jobs after TMZ, they were offering like, $200K, $250K to be the news director or whatever. You had to move to New York, but still, that's not bad. I always thought I was going to go work for InfoWars after I left TMZ, because I figured like if I can get hired there for sure.
One of my major accomplishments at TMZ was that like one of those QAnon videos like used one of my interviews with like the bassist player from Scorpion, because he was talking about like secret snuff parties. And they were just like, this is proof that Hollywood like eats babies.
I remember that. What was that? Why was he saying that though? It was kind of weird.
Well, his name was Ralph Reicherman, and this guy, he probably hates me because he got a lot of like he got in some like trouble because of that. But he was just, like, I was just asking him like like I always used to interview him. They never used him. I liked his German accent, so I liked talking to him. So I just like asked him like out of the blue. It's like, you been to any like snuff parties lately? Like, what's going on?
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm trying to look up your Ralph Reicherman.
I don't know how to spell it, but
interview. I found it.
Oh, you did? Okay. But yeah, and I don't know if he was, but like I guess, can we move on from a different topic? I'm hoping.
Can you hear this?
The cadence.
Was it like a donkey show or?
No, actually, I think they actually kill people and stuff. They pay like up to like 100,000 people to see people get
Executed.
I'm not kidding.
He's dead serious. He's not like laughing. There's not a smile on his face. Ralph Reicherman.
Wow. What the fuck? Oh shit. You couldn't even see that on the screen. God damn it, Smalls. Hold on 1 second. We got to just pretend that we didn't watch that. I'm going to play it again.
How many viewers do you have right now?
We got zero.
Zero?
We're really doing this for the replay audience. Nobody watches anything live anymore. It's all about the replay.
When I was
damn it. I can't believe I did. Okay, hold that thought.
All
right. I just found your Ralph Reicherman interview.
Ralph Reicherman is German.
He is sexy. I'll give him that. Not that guy. There he is.
Was it like a donkey show or? No, actually,
I've never seen a donkey show, but like
they pay like up to like 100,000 people to see people get
executed.
I'm not kidding.
He's dead serious. He's not like laughing. There's not a smile on his face.
Wait, so you're saying that that's not true?
You know what? I'm gonna rescind my comment. It's probably true, and like I don't think Ralph Reicherman had $100,000 to spend on that, but he was probably like there with like somebody probably paid his cover charge.
You mentioned that you'd interviewed him a bunch of times and they never used him. What was it like? You said to him, "Hey, why don't you just say some crazy shit?" And maybe
no. It was like where Nightingale's is now. It was some event, and it was like my first interview of the night. I'm just like getting my I just wanted to shoot the shit with him, and so like I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. And then it's still on like the dark web, and like very like people are still being indoctrinated by the far right from my interview.
What I find funny, hold on, let me put my headphones on. Just I want to, in case there's an echo. Okay, what I find funny is that Jesse and I did a Jesse Rowe, our former coworker, who I now co-host the Front Row podcast with. We did an episode on Dane Cook and his parties and how that guy Isaac Cappy was there. Do you know who Isaac Cappy is?
Nope, no clue.
Okay, so he was proves my point in a way. He was like an actor who had appeared in some things. People got upset when we called him a struggling actor. He had appeared in some things. It'd been several years since he had appeared in some things. Sounds struggling to me, but okay. Anyways, he went crazy. He started saying QAnon stuff, and then he had witnessed all this high-level sexual deviancy at parties, and he was at the Dane Cook party, Dane Cook's game nights, where Dane Cook met his young wife, and then Isaac Cappy jumped off a bridge, or some people think he was killed for his knowledge. And I contended that Isaac Cappy was too much of a nobody to be killed over this. So by the same token, Rick Reicherman, what the fuck would he be doing? The basis for Scorpion, why would he be privy to high-level Hollywood snuff parties? Is there any logic at all? What do you think?
I think there's zero logic, but it probably happened in Germany, where it was just rich industrialists, allegedly. But Germany's never done anything wrong, so maybe I'm one.
At least for the last 100 years, they've been solid.
They said on The Simpsons, like any man that speaks German couldn't do anything wrong.
Okay, Reicherman. Moving back to Kanye, he another thing I agreed with him. He went in on Jared Kushner, and he said he hadn't been serving his boy Trump the right way, and that he only negotiated the Middle East peace accords in order to make money. Where's the lie?
Well, be careful what you do when the lie becomes the truth.
Right.
Did you watch? I've actually never watched Tucker Carlson.
No, I didn't watch it either. I'm just looking at the headlines.
Okay. Now, what's the Tanya Harding stunt that he's talking about?
Oh, he compared his White Lives Matter sweater to her triple axle, like the brilliance of her. It was a feeling, it was a gut instinct. Whether or not you agree with the message, it is true. It's the only thing anyone's talking about out of that fashion show. I don't even know what fashion show it is. Fashion beef is the lamest thing, but he did. Now, again, we are not supporting the White Lives Matter movement. Can
you take that scroll off? I didn't create that.
No, we're not supporting the White Lives Matter movement. I'm just talking about from a marketing perspective. It was ingenious.
No, yeah, it got everybody talking. The news, like this happened like probably 3 days ago, and they're still talking about it on the Dante Greco show live.
That's right, with 0 viewers. You're wearing a hat with is that the Mexican flag?
I believe so.
What's up with that?
Well, yeah, I knew we were talking about Kanye and like White Lives Matter. So I'm just trying to, further the controversy because I am not Mexican. Although I'm willing to try.
This is like Tanya Harding's brilliance right here. Yeah, I don't know. The thing with Kanye, we've interviewed him a bunch. Have you interviewed him, right?
I have.
How was it?
Every time I interviewed him, he was in a good mood. It was like, bipolar. It was like one time I got him like right after Kim broke the internet with the paper magazine. Mm-hmm. And I asked him if he was going to oil up and be on the magazine cover next. And like, that's kind of a risky thing to ask, but he was in a good mood. He smiled and he's like, pointed at me and said like, we'll see, And I asked him something else about like his like shoe line and something like that. And like, he actually was talking and like, so I was you know, it was a win-win situation for me. I didn't get assaulted, and I got a production point.
Yeah, that's good. They used it.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I interviewed him, it was after I'd seen him a couple times over the years. Didn't you notice a change in him before, like at the beginning when he first got with Kim? He was happy. He would say what's up to the Paps. And then after like 6 months of being with her, he started doing the whole "don't talk to me" in the Calabasas Commons parking lot and at the airport and shit. Like he started to crack under the pressure.
Well, you know, as I tell people on when they come on paparazzisafari.com, that the Kardashians really as a brand were on their way down. They were crashing. It was after, like, you know, Chris Humphries and like the allegedly fake marriage. People were looking into Kris Jenner's fake for-profit church, and people were tired of their antics. But then Kanye gave them legitimacy by going out with Kim, and then add that with America's fascination with like girls turning 18 and like, you know, Kendall and Kylie. So then and I said now they're like, you know, they're not going anywhere. We're stuck with it.
Yeah. Well, he definitely had I mean, the mental break was caused by his mother's death, of course. That's what kicked it off. But that was 2007. Kim, he didn't get with her till what?
2012.
12? Yeah. The time that I most vividly recall was after he was on SNL, and it was like the next day he somehow wound up at Mel's Diner on Sunset. And I got him and tried to talk to him about his comments about the 13th Amendment. This was during his whole slavery era. And he just, as soon as you challenged him on the facts, he wanted to shut down the interview. Because that was one thing I noticed. I saw him being interviewed by some major media figures at one point, and I was just sitting there watching it, and like he has handlers off to the side. I think one of them is his father, and then there's other people on his team that give him facts, because as he said, as a shock to no one, he's never read a book, so he doesn't.
I feel like he's read a book or two. He's just
why would you lie about that? Why would you pretend? No, I've never read a book. Like he doesn't have the facts, which I sympathize with a little bit, because I feel like the internet and smartphones have broken all of our brains in that way. Like we offload so much information. We don't have to retain as much.
I think he's full of shit when he says that he's never read a book, though, because like, you know, his first, like, you know, like the college dropout. So it's like, you know, there's like, you know, and a lot of his music is very like,
yeah. Why do you think he dropped out?
College. Because he didn't like reading books.
First day they put books on the desk. He got out.
What was the last book you read, cover to cover?
I've been doing more audiobooks lately because I just can't find the time, like, to multitask reading a book while driving. So it was.
Are you unemployed right now?
What are you talking about? Full-time host of the Dante Greco show, part-time host of the Front Row podcast. It was a book about the Lakers dynasty. It was called 3 Ring Circus by Jeff something. It was about like the Kobe Shaq years.
Oh, okay.
It was interesting.
But you
yeah. Yeah. I've been reading a book lately, actually, but in pieces. It's called oh, fuck. I got a green screen. All right. It's not working. It's called The Western Canon by Harold Bloom. It's quite interesting. You know, for people who don't have enough time to read all the great authors of Western literature, it's a nice summation and explanation. And you, what have you read?
I finished reading A Confederacy of Dunces, which was hilarious.
Is it actually funny? Everyone says it's funny, and I just think it's like a hipster thing to say it's funny. Like people like Will Ferrell think it's brilliant, and that rubs me the wrong way.
You can see like Will Ferrell and like Zach Galifianakis, they base a lot of their like man-child characters off of the protagonist, Ignatius Riley. And like some of the book was kind of like, you know, but like there were some moments where it was like literally like laughing out loud funny.
Really?
Yeah. And I usually don't read fiction. I'm a big nonfiction fan. I like biographies and history. I'm starting to read this book on good old Joe Kennedy, but right now it's better to prop my laptop up. I've only read a few pages.
I like that. Is it any good? I'm interested.
Oh yeah, no, he's a very polarizing character.
Don't you think that a Confederacy of Dunces has a bigger reputation because David Foster Wallace killed himself?
Possibly.
It takes on more of like, oh wow, it must really mean something because he killed himself.
No, it's just it was very. I like the language of it, and just like I don't know, maybe a lot of fat jokes and just like, but like the way it's like, but he really captured like the way people talk in Louisiana. At least like it didn't feel fake.
Yeah. Getting back to Kanye,
Mm-hmm.
who hasn't read that book for sure. I was just gonna say the time I interviewed him, A, you challenge him on the facts, he shuts it down, and B, he looks right through you. Like, when someone's looking right through you, but like they're not looking at you. And afterward, he tried to get my number, and then he gave me his number.
He gave you his number?
He gave me his number. He was just like, now put my number in your phone. I was like, oh, okay. And then he just looked at me like,
did you guys text?
We're gonna help everybody. We're gonna help everybody.
Oh man, yeah.
We're in the Mel's Diner parking lot. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? We did not text, as I've said before on the Hollywood Raw podcast. I was scared to text the number. I didn't know what it would lead to. It would be like some kind of urban legend thing where you text this number and then you die within 7 days.
Well, speaking of some of my illustrious jobs, well, really, like nothing beats selling clocks in the Century City Mall
and weather vanes. Don't forget the weather.
Oh yeah, weather vanes. But for a brief time, I was
the most interesting part, the weather vanes. Yes, go ahead.
For a brief time, I was the personal valet and made sure nobody scratched his car for famous podcaster Joe Rogan.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. So I had his phone number, and one of my friends from St. Louis just kept bothering me for his phone number, and so I gave it to him. And this was before like iPhones and stuff like that. It was back in like 2007.
Uh-huh.
It was a brief gig. It was a good gig. He paid decent money, and but then anyway,
how much did he pay?
$100 for like 2 hours, and just made sure nobody like peed on his car at the Comedy Store. Made sure like nobody scratched it, and like
that's really nice of him. What kind of car was it?
It was a custom made like Barracuda Mustang. It was he doesn't have it anymore.
He's a car guy. He's like Leno. He's a car guy.
Yeah, he's got hard nipples too.
I think those are surgically enhanced.
I think so too. But anyway, so I gave his number to my friend, and my friend just kept calling him until he like finally picked up, and it was just like, what? And my friend's like, I gotta tell you something about myself you might not know about me, Joe Rogan. And Joe said, yeah, you smoke rocks. And then he said, yeah, I smoke rocks. And that was that.
Wait, who was this? Bushman? Who was the friend?
No, it was my friend David Stiffelman.
Okay, is he a comedian?
No, he just has a comedian's name.
Oh.
But he was a big fan of the Dave Chappelle skit where Tyrone Biggums was on Fear Factor.
Oh, yeah. Oh, so he was doing the Tyrone Biggums voice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did Rogan ever figure out how that guy got his number, or he just?
No, he did not. And I'll be honest, I don't think he'll find out through this. And even if he does, I don't care. Although if he is listening, I am willing to relocate to Austin if he needs somebody to watch his car. I need to get out of LA.
You got to just go out there and make the offer. He's not going to ask you to come. You just got to put up the money yourself to move there first. Did he ever talk to you? Did he ever give you any words of advice? Did he ever try to talk you out? Sometimes when I would run into people, like I ran into Rob Schneider at the airport, at the Burbank airport once. I was waiting on someone else to come out. And I was like, yeah, sorry, man. I don't have anything to ask you about. Otherwise, I would interview you. But I didn't realize he didn't really like doing TMZ interviews. But he was like, oh, why don't you do something yourself? Do something on your own. Do your own thing.
Oh no,
People,
I mean, Joe was actually it was easy to talk to him, but he would he knew how, if he didn't want to talk, he wasn't going to talk, and he would also just be like, you can smoke, do you want to smoke this joint? And I would concur. Although during like my period where I actually did work at TMZ, like where I actually like cared about working, I would not, smoking weed was like counterintuitive to getting ambush interviews, because I would like look inside yourself and be like, oh my God, what am I doing? Why am I bothering these people? So the few times that he did smoke me out while I was on the clock, I would like one time I just like drove up into the hills and was just like, it was a cold night and it was a dark night of the soul, where I was just like, what am I doing?
right. I've heard people say that before. I never smoked weed on the job because I don't like smoking weed anyway, but especially I couldn't imagine having to do the job while high. Other people have said the same thing. They went and like hid in a bush because they were so freaked out by what they were doing.
It really gives you like some like introspect that you don't want to hear at that time. And so it's like you got a job, you got an intrusive job to do, and now your conscience is messing with you, and that's just like it just does not work.
Right. I love the job in the company, by the way. Just want to go on record in case anyone's watching.
I have been applying for jobs there. So far, I have applied for 3 jobs on TMZ as an associate producer for 2Fab, a producer for 2Fab, and a producer for TMZ. And so far, I've heard no word back.
Well, this will help.
If Charlie Cotton is listening, please put in a good word for me. Maybe
Did you tell them that you created White Lives Matter?
No, maybe that will give me the job. I did not create.
God, what was I going to say about that? I don't know. Yeah, people always try to talk us out of it. I remember Jeff Daniels tried to do it once too. He was like pretending that he was this character from the newsroom. It was weird. I was in Nashville and he was performing, which who knew that he performs live, but he performs country music or something. And I tried to get an interview with him. He was like, do better. Do better. It was hilarious. Okay. Getting back to what we're talking about. So we've talked about Kanye. It's enough with Kanye, right? We enjoy it. We enjoy it. I think we could say that, right?
It's a train wreck. It's hard to look away.
And as I said, media, if you're listening, he's your next Trump. Kanye West. You just got to get people to take him seriously. He's run for president once. He should do it again. Again, I don't think this is good for America. I don't support this. But if you're looking for a new Trump, Kanye's the only guy who blends celebrity with like grandiosity. He's also a fake billionaire. And he also is has a lot of ideas, like political ideas. So that's your guy. He's incendiary. Moving on. Now, I understand, Jeremiah, that you've been to the movies recently.
I have. I have seen Don't Worry, Darling actually twice.
What the fuck? Why?
And I'll be honest, it wasn't that good, but it was entertaining. And it was, I like the escapism. Now, the second time I saw it, it was just to, I don't want to go into the details, but I just needed to kill some time, and I actually went and I took a nap. And so I didn't really psychoanalyze it more. There's a lot of holes in the plot line, but like, if you put that aside and just want like to get like, have a fun movie for 2 hours, it's not that bad. It's not that good. It shouldn't really, but really the production design alone is amazing. And like I love Palm Springs. Mm-hmm. And seeing Harry Styles as an incel, like I don't not to give out like spoilers for like it was kind of cool, and really the main actress Florence Pugh she acted well and she was just incredibly good looking. So you kind of like you didn't care about the plot holes or the inconsistencies. It was a decent movie. Now
she's good. Real quick, before we move on to the next movie, let's talk about this a little bit. But she's good. Did you ever see Midsommar?
I've been meaning to watch it. I hear that's really good.
It's really good. I saw the director's cut. I didn't know anything about it. It's a brutal movie, but you should see it. Don't worry, darling. Harry Styles, does he have acting talent? Because I don't think he has musical talent. I saw him at Coachella. I couldn't believe he was the headliner. There were no hits. Even the hits weren't good. And like somehow he has a rabid fan base. But I was just really put off by how unenjoyable his set was at Coachella, you know?
You know, people were were criticizing his acting in Don't Worry, Darling. And the first time I watched it, I didn't think it was that bad. But then, like, you know, kind of then going back and seeing it again, I can see some of the criticism, but like I think he has a future in acting. I think he can. I mean, he has a face. He has a brand recognition. I think he could. I think he has a future in acting, and I think he should take a couple lessons. I think he'll be fine.
He reminds me of like a male Taylor Swift. Like, you know how Taylor Swift shows up at projects, like, you should like it because I'm Taylor Swift. You should be happy that I'm here. Like,
do you remember when they were briefly fucking?
Were they?
They were.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. We've never figured out if that was one of those arranged showbiz marriages or
it's definitely suspect
marriages.
Because it was like, you know, it was like when One Direction was still somewhat new, like they were still under Simon Cowell's, like, you know, string. So
yeah,
I wouldn't. That is a question I would ask. Like, were you guys actually fucking? Was the fucking genuine, or was it all like, you know, was it fake fucking?
Right. I'm sure you'll get an answer to that.
Definitely.
Okay. So did you have any thoughts about the marketing of the movie and about Olivia Wilde and her beef with Florence Pugh, and Olivia Wilde making the marketing of the movie about the future is female ejaculation?
Honestly, when I saw the preview of the movie, I knew I was going to watch it because of the Palm Springs setting. I'm just like, I like that the Palm Springs aesthetic. So I really have no comment on the future is female ejaculation. And, but the future is Joe Rogan's nipples.
Wait, why did this not, that wasn't supposed to be what I pulled up. If anyone was watching before, we were talking about Joe Rogan. Okay.
Well, the future is Joe Rogan's nipples.
Yeah.
Oh.
See, she was going around wearing shirts like this. And
I like that she's, I don't know. Like, what are your thoughts on masks in 2023? Will they still be around? Face masks?
Oh, God. Did you see when Bill Hader showed up to whatever award show that was with a mask? Like, dude, you'd give it up.
I didn't see that.
Unless Bill Hader is immunocompromised and we're just finding out about it now, 40 years into his life, take it off.
Well,
even Henry Winkler was sitting next to him. Henry Winkler is like 75, and he's sitting there like with a wide smile on his face, no mask.
I kind of want to bring back the mask shaming just for the hell of it. Just like, you know, for like the midterms, I want to like yell at people if they're not wearing a mask and to see if that'll get me beat up.
Well, go to like the East Coast. I think there's still big mask people out there. You go to like Brooklyn or Manhattan. They love that mask. Okay, so don't worry, darling. You give it how many Mexican flags do you give it?
Honestly, it's watchable. Out of 4, I would give it like 2.5 stars.
Mexican flags, you mean?
Yeah,
that's your rating system.
I thought it was an enjoyable movie. It has its flaws, but just like to be so passionate about like disliking a movie, like, you know, I don't see the point.
Speaking of movies, real quick, and then we're going to get to Blonde, starring Marilyn Monroe, or about Marilyn Monroe. Everyone is making a big deal about this Super Mario animated movie that's coming out with Chris Pratt playing Italian Mario. Have you heard about this?
I have, and I found a tweet that Chris Pratt made like 10 years ago where he said something about how like it was before he was like uber famous, and he said something about how like New York is like I just got like I forgot the exact tweet. I'll have to find it, but he like made an Italian American slur, saying like New York is like full of Dagos, and how just like how terrible that is.
Nice. Well, Italians are one of the few groups that you can still be prejudiced against in this country.
Thank God.
And I won't stand for it. Anyways, real quick, we'll get to Blonde, but everyone's been wondering, what is the voice going to sound like? What's the character's voice? Because Chris Pratt, is he going to put on a fake Italian accent? What's it going to be? So I actually have the video of the voice. They released the trailer.
Let's hear it.
You hear that? Can you hear that?
I cannot hear it.
You can't hear it.
Sound like, oh, mamma mia! Let me get some meatballs.
Right, let me take my headphones out. Can you hear this now? You hear that? Turn your computer volume up, asshole.
It's up all the way.
All right, here we go.
All right, that's Joe Pesci from Casino.
That's Chris Pratt. It's an exclusive. No, if you want to hear the real voice, I could play it. Okay, Blonde, Marilyn Monroe's story, controversial movie, rated NC-17. And you saw this movie, and what are your thoughts?
Mixed thoughts. Now, and like people get like upset about it, but it's not an actual biopic. It's like a adaptation of like an imagination of Blonde, of like so like it's not factually correct, but I am curious if Charlie Chaplin and Edward G. Robinson's son did have like an Eiffel Tower with her.
Right.
I would like to know more about that, and I would also like to know if Edward G. Robinson's son would like do his like would do his father's voice and be like, where's your Messiah now? See?
Right.
But I'm a big fan of the director. He did the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford. And I like the style. I definitely liked the scene with it definitely did not portray President John F. Kennedy in a good light.
Oh yeah, let's just say spoiler alert for the one viewer watching right now. If you want to bail out for a second, come back in a couple minutes. Spoilers, spoiler alert. Yes, it did not portray anybody in a good light, really.
No, yeah. Joe DiMaggio portrayed him in a bad light. It definitely portrayed Norma Jean's mother in a terrible light. She seemed like an unfit,
total monster.
Yeah, honestly, I thought the movie was okay. I didn't. It's Netflix gives you the comfort to like see it in your own home, so you can't be judged on watching it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the criticism has been that it just makes Marilyn a victim, and it exploits her and re-victimizes her by making a movie about all this. She's constantly having to have sex with executives and presidents and baseball players. I mean, I thought it was well made. It was much more artsy than I expected.
It was pretty artsy.
It was almost like a foreign film.
Yeah.
And it was graphic in some senses, but the NC-17 wasn't what you think it is. If you think you're just going to see like explicit Ana de Armas sex with, multiple men, it's not what you're going to get. It's explicit in other ways, psychologically even. Here's what I want to ask you, because I made a video about this and some people were upset. So Ana de Armas is Cuban.
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn Monroe, as far as we know, was just a white woman. And not that there's anything wrong with either of those, but I still detected hints of Ana de Armas's accent. And I'm not the only one. This was the thing when the trailer was first released. People were saying, look, no offense, but she still sounds Cuban. Did you pick up on that?
No, because I heard in post-production they kind of they kind of took some of the Cuban accent out in post-production.
They like auto-tuned it or something. Yeah. Here's the thing, though. They did it for most of it, most of her dialogue, and yet there was a lot of dialogue, enough to take me out of the movie, where I would hear her talking like this, and then it would end like this. And so she did a great job. Everything else about her performance I thought was very good. And I'm sure she did her best, but I can't lie, it still took me out of the movie at times, the accent.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it again, so.
Right.
Are there any movies coming up that you want to see?
Not really. I don't know. What's coming out? I saw The Woman King. Did you see that with Viola Davis?
Not. Was it good?
I enjoyed it.
Okay.
It was not bad. It was spoilers alerts. Spoiler alert. I don't know. Do you want me to tell you anything about it, or are you going to see it?
I'm never going to see it. I mean, I might.
Okay. I just wish that it got to the action a little bit quicker. That's all.
Okay.
That's all. I saw a good movie called Barbarian. Now, this one I'm not going to say anything about, because this is a movie you don't want to know anything about it going in. So all I'm going to say is it was a good movie. It's like kind of like a suspenseful horror movie. It's good for this time of year. Go see it. And that's it. That's my recommendation. Don't watch the trailer. Don't read the reviews. Don't even look it up on IMDb. Just don't look anything up about it. Just go see the movie or rent it.
Awesome. Is that an energy drink you have? Because I was not supplied any energy drinks.
It is. You didn't get I sent a case over. Celsius. It's the one that all of the fitness people seem to love it because it has no sugar, and yet some guy was on TikTok claiming it gave him a heart attack. So we'll see.
One time I drank a Bang energy drink, and it literally felt like I was on methamphetamines. It was disgusting.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that Dan Bilzerian's thing?
Well, he has his cannabis company called Ignite.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure that's just a front for his human trafficking.
Right. Allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah.
By the way, that's you saying that. Me, I believe that he's just a straight shooter.
He seems like a really stand-up guy.
Really good. I would introduce my daughter to him. Did you ever interview Dan? By the way, if you're just joining us, we're here with Senor Smalls. He is an ex-TMZ producer, founder of the wildly successful Pap Safari walking tours in Beverly Hills, and he's also the Reseda reporter on online and wherever you get your podcasts. So he worked for TMZ, as I did. Did you interview Dan Bilzerian?
I tried to. He ignored me.
Yeah, he's weird like that. Earlier in the year, his people called a bunch of Paps to go shoot him at the Bijan store on Rodeo Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone's there. We're thinking like, oh, wow, he called. He's going to talk. He's going to give it up, as we say in this industry. And then he just walked in. And then when he came out, they were like, okay, no, can you guys wait? He's going to talk on the way out. He didn't know, blah, 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 blah. And then he came out and he just got into his car and like barely turned his head and answered my question. It's horse shit. And he was wearing the shortest shorts in the world. Like he could have easily popped out while I was filming.
You would have loved that, wouldn't you?
They would have used the clip. I'm sure if he had popped out of his shorts, they would have used the clip.
Well, if there was a tip, they would have used the clip,
If it doesn't fit the tip.
Have you ever masturbated to like OJ? Has OJ Simpson ever has he thought about producing porn?
Oh, I'm sure he's been a pro.
People buy it, would you buy it to masturbate, or would you watch it just for like the niche value.
I would, if I was going to watch it, it would only be for the niche value and for work purposes, so I could talk about it, an O.J. Simpson porn. But it would be too weird to A, masturbate to it because I'm not gay, and B, it's also O.J. Simpson who maybe killed his wife and Ron Goldman.
Yeah, see, now what would like the premise of OJ's pornography film be? Like, you remember when OJ had a prank show where he
Listen,
was like, pranking
yes,
people?
exactly. Juiced.
Yeah,
It would be called If I Did You, and it would have something to do with the murders and, you know, maybe stealing or kidnapping memorabilia dealers in a Las Vegas hotel room. Part 2. If I Did You, Part 2. Yeah, no, he did, because like, think about it. He's tried to cash in multiple times with the Juiced show and with If I Did It, the book.
Well, I think that the perfect setting would be just like on a white Bronco, like inside it and like on top of the hood. Now, I'm not sure if OJ should do like a solo scene or if there should be like, you know, like would a porn star, like, you know, would her price go up if she had to do a scene with OJ? Or like, you know, I'm sure he could find somebody on OnlyFans.
Well, imagine the insurance premiums. I mean, I don't know that you could afford to make that movie.
Now, the Kardashians owe a lot of their clout to OJ. At least like they're like, early clout. Would one of the Kardashians bang OJ for the right amount of money?
The rumors always were that he and Kris Jenner were, they would spend time in the jacuzzi together.
Yeah. Now, I think the sales would be out of this roof if it was OJ and Kendall Jenner, because she's still young. She's, she doesn't have any kids yet, so it's like, she won't.
Can you imagine a more uncomfortable scene? Because she's always like unhappy to be anywhere. In our experience, she's with OJ.
It would be on her own will. Her mother would probably coax her to do it for the money and the clout. But I don't think she would be happy if she was banging OJ.
If they hadn't gotten that Hulu deal, then maybe they would have resorted to something like that. But I don't see that. I also don't. I think the reason OJ has never resorted to doing porn or anything too crazy is he knew he had that pension coming eventually. So if he could just make it to Florida and out of Ron Goldman's clutches, he would get that pension.
Fred Goldman and his mustache.
Fred Goldman, yeah, Ron Goldman.
He took care of Ron Goldman, allegedly. But
he settled that issue a long time ago.
Yeah, back in 1994. But yeah, thanks a lot, NFL. Like, you robbed us of an OJ pornography film.
I'd like to see him at the next Super Bowl. What about that? He was at SoFi recently.
That's awesome.
Do you think they would ban him? Like, because, okay, he's been to an NFL game now. He went to SoFi Stadium. Somehow he's like not supposed to be in California, or they could take all his money. That's what I always was led to believe, but he snuck in.
How do you sneak in when you're OJ Simpson? His head is huge.
Exactly. And by the way, I don't want to call out our former colleagues, but where were the TMZ Paps at the airport when OJ Simpson showed up? Like, what the fuck? That was a major miss. How do you think OJ would be turned away from the Super Bowl? Like a regular season game, okay, fine, he got in. But if he showed up with a ticket, would they say, I'm sorry, Mr. Simpson, but
I think so. I think for publicity, they would have to make a show of it of rejecting him from, but that would still be the news story and then a lucky journalist would catch him outside of the game.
Well, the great thing about OJ is he would go right to Twitter immediately and he would make his own video. He is a good broadcaster.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's working he's going to be doing election coverage for Newsmax, right? Is that?
That's not a bad idea. I mean,
by the way, I wanted to ask you about this. I hate to keep bringing up Kanye, but he did say something about the Jewish people. Now, your name is Senor Smalls, but you're also a proud Jewish man. And as we know, Kanye's been beefing with everybody, specifically Diddy. He's been texting Diddy and then putting screenshots of the chats on his Instagram. So I noticed this one. It struck a nerve with me. You know, I am not Jewish, but I care for my Jewish friends, and so it made me a little off-putting. Can you see this?
No. Tell me about it.
Okay. Are you what kind of a computer are you using? You can't see or hear anything that I'm doing here.
No, I see you. I don't see any.
Oh, you know what? You're right. Shit. Here I'm doing it again. This streaming service is great, and if you sign up
StreamYard?
now, I'll get a referral. But okay, here we go. Now, can you see it? Can you read it, or is it too small?
Yeah, I can read it.
I'll read it. I'll read it for the audience.
Don't read the first word, please.
No, Puffy says, N-word. Send me an address. Let's stop playing these internet games and don't feel threatened. You'll be fine. Just love. Kanye responds, this ain't a game. I'm going to use you as an example to show the Jewish people that told you to call me that no one can threaten or influence me. I told you this was war. Now go and get you some business. So Kanye seems to think that Jewish people are ordering Puff Daddy to text him about the White Lives Matter t-shirt that you designed. And he's, and then his caption is, Jesus is Jew. What does this mean to you as a Jewish man?
Well, I'm going to kind of paraphrase Alan Greenspan when he was working for Richard Nixon.
Sure.
And one of his friends asked him, how can you work for such an anti-Semitic? Because, Nixon would go on tirades. And Alan Greenspan...
I'm Jewish. Oh.
And Alan Greenspan said, Nixon hates everybody equally, so I didn't find it offensive. He's just like Nixon. Yeah, he doesn't like the Jews, but he also doesn't like the Calvinists. Nixon hates everybody, so I didn't feel singled out.
Gays, blacks, yeah, Nixon.
Yeah,
he did hate everybody.
So with this Kanye rant, I don't feel singled out. I think he is obviously misinformed, but I'm not up in arms.
Okay, well, you don't think that he is a powerful man in entertainment, in music, in fashion, and he thinks that there are powerful Jewish people who can order billionaire Puff Daddy to come for him. Isn't that worrying?
It is a little worrying because a lot of people believe that too.
Yeah, I don't.
No. But what if George Soros is behind this all along? It's disturbing. Yeah. I don't take personal offense, but obviously it's it's not comforting, and it's not honestly, he should probably. Man, he keeps coming back on, he keeps deleting all his posts and then coming back on. I don't know.
Yeah. He's crazy. So what's up with you?
Man, just dog sitting, I'm cat sitting, trying to find a job. I am it's been rough times. There's one tour booked for next week. I thank you for calling it the wildly successful Paparazzi Safari, but it's seen better days.
What is it? Is it just that the celebrities aren't out anymore?
Oh, yeah, celebrities aren't out anymore. I'm not advertising. It's just on Airbnb experiences. Tourism's not doing that great. And I don't know. People also don't care about celebrities as much. And maybe I need to rebrand.
That's so true. I put up videos about celebrities and they get no views. And even interviews with celebrities, nobody cares. The celebrity as we knew it is dead, I think.
Oh, yeah. Gone are the days.
But also are the internet celebrities. No one cares about just your generic internet celebrity really either,
It was very weird. Out of the blue, Addison Rae's father texted me a video where he was dissing a rapper named Young Gravy. And I was just like, one, why is he texting me? I know why. Somebody gave him my number to try and cover some event. And it's just like, I didn't want to cover it. And yes, I find his daughter very attractive, but it's just like, she's way out of my league. I'm like twice her age. I'm like more like I could be her father.
Right. It's really just about the age difference. Everything else she would go for you, but it's just the age difference.
I'd like to think so. I like to think when I'm looking at her Instagram photos, she's like really like she's just doing it for me. She's
looking back at you, yeah.
Alone, yeah. Her captions are speaking solely to me. Sure, millions of people see it, but like it was meant for my eyes and my media intake only.
Right. So,
but yeah, and I did watch the YouTube video. It was atrocious, but this like also, who the fuck? Why would somebody be a rapper and their name be Young Gravy? They're like really running out of names.
I know the name generator that they're all using just must be, on its last legs. Young Gravy. I feel bad for the people like Post Malone, who I consider a friend, follows me on Instagram. Like the guy, nothing but good things to say about him. He's the one guy who could make the face tattoos work because he got big enough that like it works. He's now immortal in that way. Everyone else who's a young up and coming wannabe rapper like the Island Boys, and they're getting their entire face and bodies tattooed, is making a huge mistake. Because they're not catching on. And then in a year, they're going to be stuck with this ink on them for the rest of their lives. And if they remove it, it's going to look like they were burn victims. And they will have made no money. They'll probably end up owing money. Right? Am I wrong here, Smalls? Senor Smalls?
That's why I never got any tattoos. And I don't know. What are you
supposed to do with that for the rest of your life? Even 6ix9ine, who I liked, and who for a few years was a big deal. He's got to live like another 50 years with the big 6ix9ine on his forehead.
Is he? But I don't know if he's going to live another 50 years.
I think he is. I think no one cares enough to kill him. Like his little gang is all locked up, and no one's going to go out of their way to kill him unless he just pisses off a random person, which could happen.
Yeah.
But him, the Island Boys, Young Gravy, I'm sure, all these other people doing the face tattoos are it's like the worst trend imaginable, because you can't just look back and be like, remember when we had face tattoos? You still got them.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not a fan.
You have any tattoos?
No tattoos.
Yeah, me neither.
But if I do get a tattoo, it will be of an organ scientific projection clock and a weather vane.
Yes, you worked. If anyone's just joining us, he had a distinguished career, Senor Smalls, as a clock and weather vane salesman, and the first hour of the show was about that.
And if anybody would like to go into business and start a new clock and weather vane store, I'm your man.
You should go back into that. Like we said, the celebrity paparazzi industry is dead. Clocks and weather vanes making a comeback.
Especially like retail.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Brick and mortar clock and weather vane stores.
Yeah. Why would you order it on Amazon if you could like buy it from me in Century City?
Okay, so listen, I pulled up your Paparazzi Safari page. Tell us a little bit about it. Why should we come and take it? And how safe are we if we accompany you?
Well, the bums in Beverly Hills are some of the nicest bums you'll ever meet. Kate, man, I don't even think he's really a bum. They're just panhandlers.
They're professionals. They're not. We saw them. We were there every day. They would come in a new outfit every day.
The best was when Kate Man like pulled out his wad of like cash, and I was with the Bushman, and you could just see the intense jealousy and envy in Bushman's eyes. It's just like, man, like why didn't I just wear a cape?
Did you ever see the guy who would tell jokes?
Oh, EIEIO? Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was at the Comedy Store once. I remember years ago. He was at the Comedy Store once. I remember years ago when I was trying to do an open mic, and he was there to do it. And then years later, I was like, "Wait, this guy's homeless, and he just tells jokes in Beverly Hills." Did you hear his funniest joke? He goes, "Did you hear about the two gay lawyers? They tried each other."
Honestly, I miss the old school Comedy Store. Was just like such the perfect blend of of comedians and just vagrants who wanted to be comedians, and just like hanger-ons and just like eccentric vagrant like weirdos.
I know.
And
Do you think
you don't have that anymore? It's like actually like corporate, and they're making money. It's disgusting.
they stopped having an open mic at the Comedy Store, which to me is kind of crazy because it's like the place where people are supposed to start their careers. Do you think they stopped because they realized LA was getting so out of control with like just the weird vagrants, people that have nowhere to go? Because even when I went there over 10 years ago, it seemed like a hub for that.
Oh yeah, it definitely was. And but they were able to contain it back then, and it was like part of it. But then like really, the establishment started making too much money, and so like I think they phased it out because it was just like it was an old relic of the old times, and it was just like, and also like like now you go there, they pat you down for like like to see if you have any weapons.
Yeah. By the way, big shout out to Natalie McClendon joining the chat. Thank you, Natalie. When I went to the Comedy Store, it was God damn, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, you know who used to come there? Zsa Zsa Gabor's daughter,
Francesca Hilton.
Hilton.
She was Francesca Hilton. She was the product. Conrad Hilton actually raped Zsa Zsa Gabor, and they weren't married. But,
no,
technically,
don't tell me that that's what happened.
That is what happened. Look, I mean, at least according to Wikipedia, which
oh
is
my god.
But anyway, like
she used to show up and do open mics at the Comedy Store.
Oh yeah, and she pretty much died like in her Ford Escort or Ford Explorer, like pretty much penniless. Conrad Hilton, who is Paris Hilton's great grandfather or whatever, had like all the money in the world. Specifically, left his only daughter like $20,000, like something very like little, because he did not consider her a human being.
I feel even worse now because we used to go in there, and this guy Tony Hinchcliffe, who's now with Joe Rogan and he's out in Austin and he hosts the Kill Tony show. He was the open mic MC at that time, and Francesca Hilton would always go up and she didn't do a great job. She wasn't really a comedian, and he would just viciously make fun of her afterward, as he did with every comic that went up, myself included. But to find out her awful beginnings and then awful ending, Jesus Christ, that puts a damper on this memory that I had. I didn't know that she died in a Ford Escort later on with $20,000.
Can you please take Tony off the screen? I don't like looking at his chick teeth.
Did you know him?
Yeah, I knew him.
So just for anyone who's watching, Smalls was he worked the night shift for TMZ.
Please take him off. Thank you.
Okay, let me add this back. Smalls used to work for the night shift for TMZ, so you would cover the Comedy Store a lot of times because a lot of celebrities went there, and of course a lot of celebrity comedians. That was kind of your beat for a few years. So you don't like Tony Hinchcliffe?
He's all right. I just I knew him like when he started there, and he kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But like, and he knew how to schmooze, and he knew he didn't really have to schmooze with me to get ahead.
Right.
And honestly, I respect his work ethic. He was always writing, and even though I might not be his biggest fan, like he's doing really well for himself, and more power to him. But I actually, before I worked the night shift, I was ingratiated in the Comedy Store underbelly scene because I was helping this like a Monday night show called the Ding Dong Show, which was really, and it's still there, it's still going on. I don't think they have the heart to kick him out.
What's his name again? The guy who hosted
Barris.
Don Barris.
And that's how I met Blue Iris from the Howard Stern show.
Blue
It's
Iris,
how I
yeah.
met Dr. Carl, who was featured on America's Most Wanted for diddling boys.
Wait.
He was on the Ding Dong Show too.
Was it before he was featured on America's Most Wanted or afterward?
I met him before he was featured on America's Most Wanted, but I was at the Comedy Store when the producers for America's Most Wanted came to the Comedy Store to try and get a comment from Blue Iris. And she said, I don't have any comment. But in actuality, she was actually harboring Dr. Carl as a fugitive in her apartment in off of Reseda and the 101.
Get out of here. Really? She was harboring a fugitive?
Yes, she was.
What the hell? Was she ever charged?
No. And she's been dead for over 10 years. So unless you want to dig up her bones and put her on trial, I think it's safe to say.
Here's a picture of her if anyone wants to remember
She
Blue Iris.
She is lovely.
Wow. Harboring a fugitive. Who knew? So what happened to him? Did they catch him and lock him up or what?
I think like the evidence was circumstantial. Like he did diddle this boy back in Maryland a long time ago, but I think he was just trying to extort him. But I don't know. I can't.
Was he a priest or what was he?
No, he was not a priest. He was a landlord at one point, and he was kind of a struggling comedian. But he was part of the Ding Dong Show. And I was a producer for this illustrious show. Not really even a producer. I think they just called me an intern, an unpaid intern. And that's how I got my start at the Comedy Store. But it led me to other amazing gigs as being Joe Rogan's personal valet and and just being a general hanger-on. I was there when Robin Williams relapsed, and I got to participate in his drinking and drugging.
Wait. Small. I was trying to wrap this up, but now we have to keep going a little bit. You forced Robin Williams to relapse?
No, I was just in a group of people egging him on to relapse.
Okay. Wait. Robin Williams relapsed at the Comedy Store?
I think he had relapsed like before then, but it was around the time that movie RV was coming out, and he was doing press for it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was just, it was a hard point of his life. And that night he was just like indulging himself and like, taking shots with, struggling comedians and smoking.
Was Francesca Hilton there or?
No, she was not there at the moment.
Okay. What was he taking shots of? Tequila, vodka? What was his drink?
Tequila, I believe.
Was he picking up the tab?
Oh, I don't think they were charging him.
Did you drink with him?
Yeah, I was in a group, but like I wouldn't even say I wasn't really like converse. I was just a hanger on.
Yeah. Was he like as funny in real life? Everyone always said he was always on, and it was really funny. Or how was that?
A funny story. Like he went on in the main room, and just by name recognition, he just gets laughs. But then he went on in the original room and did the same material. And he was Robin Williams, so he still had people were still laughing, but you could tell he bombed. And this was like the first time he bombed in a long time, which probably offset his, falling off the wagon or whatever you might call it.
Shit. What year was this?
2006.
Oh, fuck.
And
that's a long time ago.
So, funny story. My first. I came to the Comedy Store to the open mic, and my first time on stage was my last time on stage because I realized I just did not have the chops to be a stand-up comedian.
Tell me about it. What happened?
You have 3 minutes on stage, and a minute and a half into it, I was just like, yeah, this is not for me. So I bowed out. But then I still hung around there for years to come, just aimlessly. But it did come in handy in my years as an ambush journalist because I got to just hang out and, I didn't have to ambush there. I could ask, and it was a good place to hang out.
Do you wish, when you look back on your life, that you had stayed in the Comedy Store system instead of going off to work for TMZ? Because TMZ is great, prestigious, paid well and all that, but it isn't exactly a transferable skill. There's nowhere else really that's, especially nowadays, maybe 10, 15 years ago, but nowadays, no one is looking for, those are my dogs. No one is looking for
an ambush journalist. Yeah.
an ambush journalist. There's not another place for ambush journalism. So do you wish that you had just stayed with the Comedy Store and, like, you know, I don't know, you could have been the next Adam Egget, the guy who was with Norm Macdonald and managed the Comedy Store eventually.
I mean, yeah, in hindsight, but like, you know, I already like I needed like a better reputation. Like Egget came in with like a decent reputation because he, like, you know, had already like managed the Tempe Improv and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I do wish I would have stayed within that community and maybe, like, you know, been an early podcast producer, like, but like as opposed to going off. But like, you know, a lot of like, you know, for every like Tony Hinchcliffe who like made it, there were a lot of people that were open micers that then became like paid regulars that then just like fell off, and now they're in like Buffalo, New York, and they might go off, like they might like do an open mic show in, like, you know, in Newark or somewhere, like, you know, like yeah, I've seen like the Midwest circuit is just like I would rather work at like a Times Square like hand job like cleanup booth.
I'm sorry to say, I don't even think that's a viable career option anymore. I mean, nowadays,
the internet ruined everything, man.
Yeah, you can't.
You know, yeah, I have a lot of regrets, but like, yeah, I should have probably chose a different career than an ambush journalist.
You know, I don't want to say that you're bad luck or, like, you know, you're a bad, you know, curse on people. But first, Robin Williams, how soon? How much time did you spend with Brody Stevens before he unfortunately?
Indirectly, I think I was partially responsible for his mental breakdown because I, you know, kept getting him on on the show, and which boosted his ego, and then yeah, he kind of crashed.
Oh God, I felt bad one time because you know how the Laugh Factory, it's another big comedy club in LA. On Thanksgiving, they do a very nice thing. They have a full catered Thanksgiving dinner for the homeless or for anyone who just doesn't have anywhere to go. It's great. And we covered it every year. We were invited inside to film and ask questions. And Brody was there one day, and I just didn't have any questions for him. You know what it's like? Like, it's stressful to have topics for people. So there were like a couple bigger names. I figured out some topics for them. I had nothing to ask Brody. And like, he was looking like, you're going to get to me, right? You're going to ask me some questions. And then I just had nothing. So
it's
I kind of
probably why he killed himself.
How dare you? How could you be so insensitive?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, it's not too late. You should still go back. You should go be like a comedy manager or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna take Bushman on as my first client.
You know, I see on LinkedIn, UTA, CAA, all the big agencies, they keep posting for like comedy touring interns. Maybe you could be part of the next intern class.
Jesus, lucky me.
Summer, the college graduates. Well, that's interesting. We gotta tap into more of your comedy stories and everything else on a future episode. But in the meantime,
get me on the Front Row podcast. I want to be like I want to be a guest.
We're working on it.
In Jesse's apartment. Tell him I will not. You know, I won't masturbate in his bathroom. I'll be a good guest. I'm not going to be an Andy Dick.
Oh, God. I'm sure you got stories about Andy Dick, as we all do, but let's save those for our next episode.
All right. Sounds good.
Hey, and I didn't even ask you about Conan.
Conan O'Brien?
Yeah, but you know what?
We'll save it for another time.
That's a tease. We'll save it for another time. It's the Paparazzi Safari Celebrity Photography Walk. It's a walking tour. It is actually a very good tour. I've been an unwilling participant in it when I worked at TMZ, and he would come up with a group of strangers from a foreign country and start asking me what celebrities were here. But it's way better than just being on a hot bus in LA traffic with some guy on a loudspeaker just fucking saying, you know, not being funny. Smalls is a funny guy. He's entertaining, and he knows a lot about Hollywood, especially the seedy underbelly of Hollywood. So I would recommend taking that tour. You can book it on Airbnb, or is there anywhere else?
You can direct message me at Pap Safari on Instagram.
I can't believe you'd be able to. I'm sure your DMs are packed. How can you disseminate?
I'm dog sitting and
follow him at the Receiver Reporter and subscribe to his YouTube. It's great.
Yeah.
Are you still on the Citizen app?
No, they stopped. A third party was paying me to get content, but they stopped paying me, so I stopped giving them content.
That's good. That's a good business decision.
They can go fuck themselves.
Right. Follow the Receiver Reporter. Take a tour if you're in town. And Smalls, we can't thank you enough for coming on today.
I can't thank you enough for having me on today.
We didn't get to talk much about how you created the White Lives Matter.
I didn't create that. It's like, you know.
Oh, sorry. This must be my research team. They must have gotten that wrong. Thank you again, and we'll see you on a future episode. I'm going to end the broadcast now. I don't quite know how to work this streaming equipment yet, so I'm not sure if you're still going to be here when I end it, but hopefully so we can say some words off the air. Okay. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. I love you.